Good day, students. Today we are going to do Chapter 5, Identifying and Targeting the Attractive Market Segments. In Chapter 4, we have learned a lot, and in Chapter 3, we have learned a lot. But in Chapter 5, now we are going to look at how can we target and attract the market segment. These are the learning objectives that you can read. I won't go in details explaining these learning objectives. So at your leisure time, please read these learning objectives as I'm going to explain them. So this is a typically a segment targeting and positioning a process. First of all, when you target the segment, you need to identify the market segment. Which market segment are you going to market your product or your service? After that, you need to look at the value opportunity. Is that a value and opportunity for you to be able to undergo that market segment? Then you look at the matching capabilities and the segment. You cannot attract a segment where you don't have capabilities in order to deliver to that segment. Then from there, once you've got capabilities, you start to look at that segment, you position your marketing strategies, and you measure. After measuring, you deliver the value to your customers. So in a nutshell, this is a summary of how can you undergo the process of market segment. First of all, you identify and describing the segments where you're going to sell your product or your service. Then from there, you target your segments, you attract your segments based on the capabilities that you have, and you position yourself because you need to be ready to sell your product and your services to this segment. These are other types of market segments that you have to look at. Need-based segment. Is there a need in that segment? The other one is the demographic segments. In Chapter 3, we're talking about the demographics, the style, the behavioral style of people, whether they are males or females, their living, the standard of living, as well as the area, the geographical area where they are staying. So you need to look at that segment. Are you targeting the whole of Vaal, or are you targeting only part of Vanderbilt Park or Vereeniging? So you still need to look at the geographical area when you select the segment. Then after that, segmentation by product, service, or the channel. So are you going to render either a product or a service in that segmentation, and which channel are you going to use? Then from there, we are going to use the psychographic segments and the behavioral segments, which is going to be explained in details in next chapters. So here they give you an example of each and every aspects which are in personal characteristics of a buyer. You cannot be able to sell your product or your services if you don't know your buyer. So you need to know your buyer. You need to know the demographics that I've already explained. Under psychographics, you need to know the personality and the lifestyles of the buyers. So for you to be able to give them the products and the services that they need. And you need to look at the behavior, brand loyalty, price sensitivity, and benefit sought. So you can't be able to produce your product and to sell your product to an area or to individuals which you don't know their behaviors. Are they impulsive buyers? Who can buy? And do they have money to buy your products? Then thereafter, you look at the kind of relationship between the buyer and the seller. Really, you need to have a strong relationship between yourself and the people that you're going to sell your products. Then from there, you look at the type of customer. We've got different customers. We've got the end-use customers. We've got the wholesalers. We've got government as a customer. And we still have retail stores and the wholesaler stores as our products. So again, you need to identify what type of a customer you want to sell your product or to render your service. So they repeat, you need to look at the demographics, geographical area, and the size of the business in terms of the employees and your revenues. Do you have money to be able to deliver services to these products? So another thing, you have to look at the product usage. Who's going to use the product? How are you going to get the product to people? Sometimes you find that you've got a product, but there are other aspects that you need to adhere to before you can deliver the product, like the installation fees, the components of your product, accessories, new material, the suppliers, professional service, and the end users. So those are some of the things that you need to look at when you are going to deliver your product. You don't just deliver your product. That means you need to know your product more for you to be able to deliver your product and to give the after sale of your product after you have sold your product to your customers. And lastly, you look at your buying situation. Buying center characteristics, the size, composition, central or decentralized. So you need to look at which center I'm going to use when I'm going to sell this product. You look at the single buyer to multiple buying influences. Who influence people to buy? You know, you can undermine children, but the children are the people who influence their parents to buy. Females are the people who are able to buy. They are impulsive buyers. So you need to know exactly for this kind of the product, who influences people to buy. That is why some organizations, they use celebrities, because they know if a celebrity is buying this, that means everybody is going to be interested in buying those products. These are alternative to market segments. Alternative one-to-one marketing. Instead of marketing a lot of people using social media or other technologies, you can do the one-to-one. Here you use your solution tailored to the needs of the individual customer, meaning that you go to the customer depending on the type of a customer, whether it's an end user customer or is government or is an industrial customer. Mostly when it's industrial customer, that's where you do the one-on-one marketing, when you go there and present your products and present your services. Once you have sold your product and services, and maybe if they are interested, then you can have the memorandum of understanding, or they can sell, they can purchase your product. The other one is a mass customization of product and services on a larger scale. Here, that's where you will use those communication media that is going to cover the large people who are going to purchase your product. The other one is permission marketing. Give marketers permission to market to them. So you can even give other marketers to market your product to those potential and the target customers that you want to sell your product or to render your services. So this is the market process. Define a market and the scope of your segment. So before you can start selling, you need to define the market. And you will be able to define the market when you decide on the approach of marketing and when you identify the profile of those markets. Here, in a nutshell, you need to do the market analysis. Go out there and get the market analysis. Get the profile of the people who are going to sell your products. As we have explained in chapter 3, that we've got government as our customer. Get a profile of the government department where you are going to sell your product. Get a profile of the wholesalers. If you are a producer, you are selling to a wholesaler, or you are a wholesaler selling to the retail stores. You need to get exactly the profile of that retail stores for you to be able to deliver the products that you want to deliver. And lastly, if you are selling to an individual users, you need also to get their profile. So when you do your marketing segmentation, you need first of all to define the market and the scope. And when you define the market, you need to look at the gatekeepers, the influencers, the deciders, and the customers. I've already explained this in details. So here you just involve yourself in depth to know exactly who are the influencers or who are hindering you to be able to market your product and your service. Step number 2, you decide on an approach to market segmentation. There's different approach that you can use. I like the last 2 approach, where you can use the qualitative market approach, where you can approach your target market by sending them interviews or semi-structured or structured interviews, get information, or you can compile a questionnaire when you undergo a quantitative research on your market segmentation, so that when you start to sell to that market, you know that you've got a quality of information and you have got a lot of information by utilizing the quantitative methods of generating information. Step number 3, you identify the profile of segments. As I've already explained, how do you identify the profile of different segments of your market? Other things that you have to look at, you need to look at the barriers to segmentation. Excessive interest in customers' identities, too little focus on customer behavior, and obsession with the technical details of segmentation infrastructure barriers, political process barriers, implementation barriers, and capability barriers. So you need to read about these barriers, and you need to analyze these barriers from within your business, so that when you go out there, already you have removed or minimized some of the barriers that can hinder you to market your product and services. So identifying and profiling your customers, I have already explained that you do that within the business, and you undergo those two methods, whether quantitative or qualitative methods of gathering information from your potential and your target market. This is an example of a segment buying pro forma, which you can go through during your leisure time. Class reflection, let's pause. Describe 3 characteristics of a well-defined market segmentation. So this is a class reflection. Reflect on this. When we do our visual classroom in Vutela, we will go back to this class reflection, so that you are able to reflect and you are able to identify the characteristics of this market segmentation. Developing a targeting strategy. So first of all, analysis of the segment attractiveness. You need to get information to know whether this segment is attractive. You can have lots of segments, but you cannot waste your time, your effort, and money to cover all the segments. So all these are the techniques that you can use to be able to market or to analyze the attractive segment, because you don't have to deliver your product and services to all the segments if they are not attractive, if you are not going to benefit from those segments. So this is a table where you can use the analysis of the attractive segment. You can go through this table during your leisure time. Selecting segment strategy. First of all, you look at building selectivity. Whether it's high, medium, or low, then you look at limited expansion or harvest. Whether it's high or low, then you look at the divest. Whether it's high or low, then from there, if you analyze all this strategy, you will be able to come up with a strong segment where you are able to sell your product and your services. And that segment should be attractive enough to maximize profit and mostly to satisfy customers' needs. Because if the customers are satisfied when you deliver your product and your services, they will stick, they will be loyal to your business. And in that case, the customer will market on your behalf by word of mouth, because they are happy with the product and the services that you have already sold to them. Developing positioning strategy. You need to position yourself. First of all, you look at positioning concept. Desire positioning of the product in a chosen target market. So in that chosen target market, you need to identify who else are there, who are other competitors in that target position, so that you position yourself. You need to know whether you are a leader in that target market or you are a follower in that target market. So how do you do that? You position yourself looking at effectiveness. Evaluate whether the positioning objectives were attained or not. And then you look at the marketing actions to communicate the positioning concepts. What actions are you going to implement for you to be able to communicate those positioning concepts? So it's very important to position yourself. And before you can position yourself, you need to evaluate your company from within, and you need to evaluate your competitors. Here are the positioning concepts that you can look at. Functional. You focus on solving the customer's problems. When the customers are happy that you have solved their problems, there's a likelihood that they can stick to your product or to your service. Symbolic, you focus on aspiration. What aspire people? And experiential, you look at positioning of products in terms of unique experience. What unique experience are you bringing to your customer? What is that aha moment where the customer said, I've utilized this product and it's working? Or I've got this service which have satisfied my need, and there's a likelihood that they can inform other customers who've got a similar problem. So again, you have to reflect, identify and discuss a brand you believe are well defined in South Africa. So for the sake of time, I'm going to stop here, where you identify the brand which you believe that is well defined. In South Africa, we will meet in our virtual class on Vutela. Thank you so much. I will see you